Well, welcome everyone to another edition of our PBALC live streams. As you know, our focus for this month is legal literacy, which is a hot topic. And our guest for today is Feliz Abalos. She was our guest last year, and we're so happy to have her feature her again this year. Welcome and good morning, Feliz.
Good morning. Thank you, Alba, so much for having me again this year. I love doing this.
Absolutely. We're so happy to have you. And Felice is an attorney in Odessa, and she is going to be talking about all kinds of legal literacy today. She's going to educate us on some of the subject matters and different types of attorneys, of fee retainers, what's the difference between that, and notary publics and different things like that. So why don't we just go ahead and get started, Felice?
Awesome. Yeah. So today I want to talk a little bit about hiring an attorney when you first reach out to attorneys. And like you and I were just talking about, every attorney has subject matter that they are knowledgeable in. And
Yes.
some attorneys are, have more than others. Some just do family, some just do criminal, some will do both. But when you think you have a case and you start to look out for an attorney, one of the first things to do would be to go to texasbar.com. And as soon as you pull it up, I just did it. I went on my phone. I went to texasbar.com, and the very first thing is find a lawyer. And that will help you in two ways. One, you can do a region specific search, and then they kind of tell you what those people specialize in. But the other is, if you're reaching out, you've found somebody you think you might want to hire, you can put their name in that database or in that query, and it'll tell you if they are a licensed attorney, what they generally practice, when they got licensed, where they went to school, and if they've ever had any bar discipline, if they've ever been suspended, if they don't currently have a license, that sort of thing. So when I talk about when you have a case, kind of what I'm talking about is what kind of case you have. Now, of course, people know criminal cases. If you've been arrested, if you've gotten a ticket, and not all criminal attorneys handle speeding tickets or parking tickets, which is kind of a different and separate, since you're not eligible for jail on those types of cases. Some don't handle them, but you've got criminal, then you've got your family law. Those are going to be what most people are looking for. Family law includes anything from divorces to custody to adoptions to just changing your visitation schedule. A subset of that, which isn't quite family law, but is completely different and has its own set of rules, is CPS, Child Protective Services. There are attorneys that specialize in that. And then you get into when you have a business and maybe you're being sued, or you need to sue a contractor because they didn't do what they were supposed to. That's civil law. Another subsect of civil law is if you've been in an accident, and either you need to sue someone because you've been hurt or someone is suing you. All those are different subject matters. And so you want to make sure that you find the right attorney, an attorney who's schooled in those matters and is up to date in those matters.
Specialize in those matters.
Yes.
Because like I said, we were talking before, is, a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to a divorce. And they just go through the phone book or, do a Google search. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to call this attorney. Well, that attorney may just do insurance law or HR law, or they may just do family law. So they're going to tell you, I can't help you. They may be able to refer you to somebody, but like you said, it's important to really research the correct lawyer for your particular case.
Yes, absolutely. And, a lot of attorneys they have a fee for a consultation. So you don't want to, pay a fee if it's not the kind of case. So that kind of brings me to another issue, is that the employees at the law firm, they are going to be very helpful to you. There are paralegals, there are legal secretaries, there's receptionists, but all of those people know how to get you the help you need within their law offices. So definitely make sure when you're calling that you tell them what it is you're calling about.
Mm-hmm.
If you may not be able to articulate it, oftentimes people don't know. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I just got kicked out of my house, so I feel like I need a lawyer, but I don't know what lawyer. And
Okay.
we can
Yep.
generally help you, guide you. And sometimes we know of a lawyer that helps in those kind of matters, and sometimes we don't. But generally, in a lot of law offices, if they have a reference to give, they will.
Right. And then you mentioned too that there's large law firms too. So if you call one, larger law firms will have attorneys that specialize in different things. So if you call, say you call a huge law firm, um, and the particular attorney that you were seeking, they're like, well, I don't, I'm not, that's not my subject matter, but my colleague can help
Yes.
you. Yeah.
We have a lot of boutique law firms here that have members, lawyers that do, each lawyer does something different. And so that's something that that can be helpful if you call a law firm. But like you said, the research and, most attorneys have websites now, and you can get a feel for what they might be able to provide for you.
Yeah. But don't let that prevent you from seeking legal counsel if you think you really need it. Just like you said, the employees could be very helpful just if you can give them as much information as as you have, and say, I signed this contract and this guy, this person didn't follow through. They didn't fix my bathroom. They just left on the job. And I don't, I feel like I need legal counsel, but I don't know what to do from this point
Yes.
forward. Yeah.
And like you said, don't let it dissuade you. You could call an attorney who says you have no case. And what we have and what we give as attorneys are legal opinions. And different attorneys can come at cases different ways. Doesn't necessarily mean one is better than the other, but it means that there are options. And, one attorney may be a better fit for you because he can see your case in a different way, or she can.
Mm-hmm.
And so if one attorney tells you no, I can't do that for you. A lot of times what it means is I'm not in position to do that, but maybe if you reach out to someone else, they will be.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, because so many people just think, oh, you're an attorney, so you know all things legal, and what people don't realize is every attorney specialize. They have their own specialization that they study.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, um, and that's something I would reach out and ask that, if you have a friend that's a lawyer and they're like, sorry, I can't help you, it's because they don't want you to give you bad legal advice. And if they don't know, they really can't help you. So, don't think that someone doesn't want to help you if they
Hmm.
just can't. Um,
Right.
there's a lot that goes into each subject matter, an area of law, and
Hmm.
you don't want to get bad advice, and we don't want to give bad advice. So
Right.
if they're referring you to someone else, it's usually because that's best for you and your case.
Exactly. And two, there's a difference too within attorneys within each state too, because
Yes.
Texas has very different laws than New Mexico. Because there's always like, oh, I have a friend who has an attorney in New Mexico, and I'm gonna use them for my case in Texas. That's probably not the best option, because New Mexico laws are very different than Texas laws. Texas laws are very different than Florida, etc.
And it's actually illegal
Yeah.
to practice law in a state that you're not licensed in. So,
Yeah.
and since we're so close to New Mexico, there actually are some attorneys who are licensed in both Texas and New Mexico, or Oklahoma. So there are, if you're licensed, that's great. But if someone reaches out to me about laws in another state, I'm absolutely going to say I can't help you, because we can get in trouble for that. And so we don't want to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that search that you mentioned through the bar association, that will bring up, the list. So it's like this attorney can practice law in New Mexico and Texas and wherever. It will, I'm assuming will have that information on there.
Yeah, it will definitely tell you if they're licensed in Texas, and most of the time, if they provided that information to the bar as to what where other states they're licensed in, they'll be there too.
Perfect. Okay. And I think we put that link on there from our last guest speaker, or Diana from our immigration attorney, but we'll
Okay.
go ahead and put that on there again so that just as a friendly reminder to people is this is, a good way to search for attorneys.
Yes, good.
So let's talk a little bit about the fees and retainers versus the flat fee. Because
Yes.
a lot of people are confused about that too, and
Yes.
consultation fees and things like that.
Yes. So like we said, there often, in fact, there are very few attorneys who aren't doing consultation fees. So that's going to be an upfront cost before you even come in. And you have to know that once you do the consultation, you may find that you're not a good fit for each other, or the attorney can't help you, or the attorney believes there's not a legal cause of action there. But you're paying for the attorney's advice and insight into your case. So that'll be first, the consultation fee. And then once that happens, there's usually some sort of contract, either verbal or written, usually written, and that will describe how payment is expected. A retainer, generally, a lawyer will ask for a certain amount of money, and oftentimes that's based on what they believe your case is going to cost, the amount of work it will cost, the amount of time it will have, the court costs. So you'll get a general retainer, and you pay that money to the attorney, and they keep it and they hold it for you. And as they work on your case, they chip away at that amount of money. And if you get to a point and it's not the end of the case, and your money has been all chipped away, they're going to require more money.
Okay.
So generally, that's a per hour situation, where they're working for you per hour, or perhaps they're working on documents at a time. And they'll tell you up front, this may not be all. The other thing about a retainer, though, is if you get it finished before all that money is used up, then you get the rest of that money back.
Okay.
A flat rate is just like, I'm going to handle this case for you, and this is how much it's going to cost you. And that's that. If things change, there may be a conversation, and if you do a flat rate, you're going to say, look, this is how much it'll cover these things. If there's something that pops up in the middle, if things change, well, then we will have to um, evaluate again. But a
Okay.
flat rate is generally just going to be, this is how much. You're not going to ask you for any more at the end, generally. One other way you can pay fees is what's called a contingency rate. And that's usually seen in personal injury cases, where they get paid if you get paid. If
Okay.
you've been hurt, and you can get anywhere from 2,000 to 200,000 or 2 million, and the cost of the attorney is going to be based on how much you get. They'll take a percentage of that. So it's just important to know up front what you're dealing with. And a
Okay.
lot of times it depends on what kind of case that you have. Like I said, contingency is generally personal injury, retainer maybe family, flat rate sometimes is criminal. Even though, flat rate maybe not as popular as the retainer these days. But
Okay. And then it's important too, with any kind of case, but I know specifically with this contingency fees, um, so many people again say, oh, my father, my brother-in-law had this case where he was injured and he got this much. Are you going to be able to get me this much? It's like every case is different. People need to
yes,
understand that. So,
it's so important for
and
clients to
their attorney may, they may have, uh, you know run the case a little bit different than your attorney is going to, and every case is going to be different. So you want to talk a
Exactly.
little bit about that too.
Yes, the facts of any case are very important. One little difference could change the outcome for you.
Right.
And that's what attorneys know. That's what we are taught in law school. It's the biggest like tenet of law school is that you look at every single um piece of the puzzle and how it fits in. And so even though it may look to you that you and your cousin's case are exactly the same, there's always going to be something in there that may not be. It may be as little as the judge isn't the same.
Right.
um and then um so an attorney is going to evaluate that for you, and you can't generally gauge what's going to happen in your case based on what happened on another case.
Exactly. Okay. And this is a big deal, especially here in the Permian Basin and around the El Paso area. The difference between Texas notary publics and the Mexican notary publics. I know our last speaker, talked. She was talking mostly on immigration law, and these notary publics come into play a lot during immigration law
Yes.
because, unfortunately, there's a lot of scammers out there that say that they're attorneys, but they're really just notary public. So, talk a little bit about that, Felice, and what people should be watching out for.
Yes. So, and I would, some of them are flat out scammers. Some of them are confused about what they can and can't do. But a
Mm-hmm.
person who is a licensed Texas notary, and that's what it's going to say when you see them, or if they give you a card, or if they show you a license, if they are licensed in the state of Texas, what that means to you is that they're licensed to verify signatures and identity. They can testify that, yes, I did see that person sign this. But that's pretty much the extent of their license. They do not have legal training. Well, let me say this. To be licensed as a notary public, you do not need legal training. You don't have to have gone to law school. And in fact, you cannot act as a lawyer based on a notary public license in the state of Texas. It is unlicensed practice of law. And I know, I've met somebody who genuinely thought she was being helpful when she told me that, yes, I, help people with their divorces all the time. I get them there, and she, really wanted to be helpful, but she doesn't know if the law has changed and what somebody might necessarily be entitled to. So, um, that's what people need to know. When you're looking for a lawyer, don't look, you ask them, and you put that name in the Find a Lawyer website or on texasbar.com. If you, and also the other thing is, a Texas notary can only charge a certain amount to notarize a document.
Okay.
um, because that's all they should be doing, is testifying, or excuse me, acknowledging a signature and acknowledging a person. They should not be creating the document for you. They should not be giving you a document that they created or that they found online. Um, so
Or
it is,
giving legal advice,
or
correct?
giving
If
any
they're not
sort
an
of legal
attorney.
advice.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you need a notary, you can generally find one in a bank, in a lawyer's office. The city of Odessa has a notary at city hall. And so, you, when you're looking, even if you're just looking for a notary, that's what you need. You should try and find one that is if you go to one of those places, you can find one generally that's reputable and that will
Yeah.
do what it is that's necessary. Now, if you're in Mexico and you have somebody who's a Mexican notario,
Mm-hmm.
those people are licensed, or excuse me, are schooled and tested on knowledge of legal matters.
Okay.
But it's just not the same here in Texas. And so when we're here in Texas, you need to know if you're looking for a lawyer or you're looking for a notary, and they're two vastly different things.
And most notaries across the United States are typically not schooled
Right.
in legal matters, right?
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes. That's just not.
so
I think we
so
just use the term completely different here, and throughout the United States. it's going to be a notary, or a notary is going to do approximately the same things that they do here in Texas, which is just identify people and watch them sign things.
Exactly. Okay. So yeah, so there's a big difference between the Mexican notario publics and United States notary public. So
Very big
be careful
difference.
with that.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so talk a little bit more about tips that you can look for in a lawyer.
Yes. So, we talked a little bit about law firms that have a bunch of different types of attorneys, but what you also will find is there are a lot of law firms that have one type of attorney. So you'll find some law firms that have 3 or 4 criminal lawyers, and you may go talk to one lawyer and find that throughout the rest of the case, another lawyer is handling your matters. So it's important when you are interviewing with an attorney that you ask them, what can I expect going forward? Who will be my main contact? And which and who will be in court with me? And sometimes they'll just tell you, well, it'll be whoever is available that day. Or sometimes they'll say, this is who you're going to be assigned to, and this is who's going to handle you. But also the employees at the law firm. I talked a little bit about it. When you're on a retainer, especially, a lot of times it's going to cost you every time you speak to an attorney. So the more information, the more willing you are to talk with the employees at the law firm, the paralegals, the legal assistants, then the better it's going to be for you and how you can manage your relationship with your lawyer. They can be very helpful. They do not give advice. You should not be taking advice from a receptionist at a law firm or from a paralegal. But what they do is take information, speak to the attorney, and then relay it. And you can find that you'll get a lot of, it'll be your relationship with your attorney. If you have a good relationship with their employees, will be much better and easier to maintain because you'll get information easier. The other thing is that the employees at a law firm are held to the same privacy rules that a lawyer is held to. The attorneys, my paralegal knows that she shouldn't be going around talking to other people about our clients' issues. The other thing that clients should know, though, is that those employees, those paralegals, those legal secretaries, they're the ones that are drafting your documents. They are the ones who are getting things together. They know what's going on. So, it may be embarrassing. You may not want to have to talk to everybody, but it will be helpful for them to know, and helpful to the attorney to know what's going on. When you call and I'm not in the office, the better detailed message you leave, the more prepared I am to call you back when I'm able to call you back. So we all work as a team in law firms, and it's helpful to a client to know that and to embrace that, and to know that everybody there that's on your team is on your team. We're all rooting for you and whatever it is that is going on in your life. Which brings us to the personality. When you
yeah, so I was gonna say it's like, you have your rights too. If an attorney, if you reach out to an attorney and they're just not the right fit, or you just feel like they're not really working your case, it's hard. What do people do? I'm sure people have rights, or you can, if you feel like your attorney is doing something illegal or something like that.
Yes. So absolutely. So, well, and I was talking about personality, and I'll do just real quick. It's something you can see at the first meeting, at the consultation. It's something you should be gauging, kind of looking at, and deciding, is this a person that I can spend the next 6 months to a year of my life with? Because it is. It's you're interviewing the attorney as much as the attorney's interviewing
You're
you.
gonna kind of be married to them for a little bit.
Yes, especially in the beginning when everything's getting together. And so, but if you know, if there is a fee dispute, there is a bar. um and by that I mean, if you just are like, I can't do this anymore, I don't, if you've got the retainer, then of course you'll get your retainer back. On a flat fee though, there's usually benchmarks as to the work that's been done, what's been done, and then if there's going to be a refund from that or not. A lot of times though, what happens is an attorney starts working on your case right away, and that's
Hmm.
hours spent, that you may not see it. It may not have been filed yet, or you may not have seen it, but that doesn't mean they haven't been doing the work, and they're entitled to a fee for that. So
Right.
hopefully, generally, you can come to some agreement. Um, but and then that kind of brings me to when you decide you don't want a divorce. um Sometimes if someone is they come in and they're, oh, I this is awful, we're going to get a divorce, and I want my kids and I don't want to ever see them again. And then you file all the paperwork, you do the first half of it, and there's a 60-day waiting period in Texas to get a divorce, and on day 59 you decide, never mind, we're good. Sometimes what will happen is the attorney will keep the case open, and then if you break up again in a year or whatever, well, it'll still be there. But sometimes what happens is the case gets dismissed, it's done, and that's it. And you are responsible for the work that the attorney's already done.
Right. Okay. And so just touch briefly with the last few minutes that we have, why it's important to seek legal advice and, and seek the right legal advice. And because so many people are like, oh, I can't afford an attorney, or I'll just do this myself, or I'll deal with this myself. And like you mentioned several times, laws change and laws are different between state to state. And so just, I don't know,
Yes.
those are some of the reasons to seek legal counsel, but
Absolutely.
you as an attorney would have better advice.
Yes. So, I will say there are some matters that some people can handle themselves. There is a website called texaslawhelp.com. I think I'll have to check on that and get it for
Okay.
you guys. But it is put together by the Texas Bar. I think it's the Texas Young Lawyers Association. It is very thorough. It has documents that for some people are easy to understand and can be filed, but some people just can't. And some of them are confusing. I look at them and I'm like, I don't know what you're asking me here.
Uh-huh.
Um, but but so if you're not comfortable and you look at that document and you're like, what the heck is this, then you
Mm-hmm.
need to see a lawyer. And you may need to see a lawyer anyway. Pay for a consultation, see if what you believe, if you can do this yourself. But the reason to at least get something, some sort of help, that even if it is just this texaslawhelp.com, is because you don't want to make things worse for yourself later, which
Mm-hmm.
happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Will you have um a situation where if you're in a car accident, the insurance company comes to you, says, I offer you 3,000, and you don't, for your pain and suffering or for your injuries, and you don't go see an attorney, you don't know what you're missing out on.
Mm-hmm.
That is and that's one instance. And on divorces, if you sign off on a divorce decree, you sign a waiver, um and you don't know what you're signing, you could be signing away your rights to your home, your car, your
Mm-hmm.
kids, any sort of thing, or saying that you'll do this. And if you haven't done your research and you don't know, which oftentimes is going to be the case because, like I said, there's so many laws and so many statutes, then you don't know what you're missing out on, and you don't want to get a document that's going to be hard to undo later on.
Yes, perfect. And so we're also going to put, Felice, your attorney's office information in the comments if you would like to seek Felice's help with any legal matters.
We'd be
um,
happy to help.
yes. And so, and lastly, just an update on the current court system after COVID or
Yes.
pre-COVID pandemic.
Yes. So a lot of courts are back in person, but there are still some that are doing online. Some of them have found that they like it and it's useful in some situations and not so useful in the other. So it's very important that you are up to date on what if your case is going to be in person or if your case is going to be on Zoom.
Okay.
And in the courts that are working on Zoom, it's important that the court coordinator and that the clerk, the county clerk, the district clerk, that they have your email address. You can't get a Zoom link if they don't have your email address. So it's very important that if you don't know, or even if you have questions, you contact the court and you ask them, is my case in person or is it via Zoom or some other degree? So we're getting back, we talked
And it's
about.
important that you reach out to them and update if you change your email or change that you update them on your information so that they can be in contact with you.
Yes, very
Because
important.
this could delay your case too if they aren't able to reach you or contact you.
Well, even worse than delay, it can dismiss or get you a default judgment. So, yes,
Okay.
that is number one. You always, if you change your email, if you change your phone number, you contact the court or your address. They're likely going to email
Immediately.
you or mail you something, or probably both. But a lot of times on Zoom, the link doesn't come out till the day before, the day of. So they're going to email that to you. So it's very important that the clerk have all of your correct contact information.
Right. And if you need help figuring out how to log into Zoom, or if you have internet issues, I'm sure that the court can help you with that matter as well, if you just let them know.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it is your responsibility to be there and to log on.
Okay.
So you may want to do a practice run. You want to download that Zoom app or whatever app it is they're telling you you're going to use the day before. You're going to try and use it on just a practice run with someone else. You want to and make sure you're somewhere that has good internet and doesn't have a lot of background noise, isn't distracting. One important thing that happens every single time: don't be driving while you're on a Zoom hearing. Don't be walking around. Just sit yourself down like you're in a courtroom. The judges really want to know that you're respecting that Zoom room just like you would any other courtroom.
And I'm sure your attorneys can help you with that too. If you're having major technical difficulties,
Absolutely.
talk to your attorneys and they can help you through those steps. Well,
Yep.
Felice, this was wonderful information. We're always happy to have you and to talk about legal literacy. Any other last comments or information that you would like to share?
No, just thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the work that y'all do there at the Permian Basin Adult Literacy Center. We are so lucky to have y'all, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Felice. Appreciate you. Bye, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.